from the mind of one of the most accomplished professional tournament bass anglers. Whether it's from the front deck of his bass boat or high up in a tree stand, Clark Wendlandt loves the Texas outdoors and wants to share it all with you.
You know, it's going to be an incredible adventure, and I look forward to bringing the viewer what this awesome state has to offer, from great fishing to great hunting to a bunch of excitement. It ought to be really awesome. You know, we had a great idea for a show, Fishing Belton Lake. What we wanted to showcase is we fished this lake a year ago, and we never have really used that footage, but we had a great fishing day. And we wanted to come back exact same time of year, similar water. You know, the water's probably gone down 3 or 4, maybe even 5 feet. But the water temperature is almost exactly the same. The difference really is the water now is way clearer. I mean, you just don't get days tougher than this right here. This is when it's the hardest fishing on a clear lake. You know, we got out there today a little bit late. You know, we got here and it wasn't, you know, first crack of dawn, and it slicks off. It's warming up nice, but there's absolutely no wind. The whole lake's flat glass. And when you have water that you can see 15 to even 20, even 22 foot deep in, clear, calm conditions are really tough fishing. I just realized why this water's so clear. You know, this lake's got zebra mussels in it. Here's a little cluster of 4 or 5 of them right there. And every body of water I've ever been on that has zebra mussels, the water gets incredibly clear. I'm not so sure it doesn't help the fishing. The Parks and Wildlife, DNRs of different states, they can't stand them. I mean, it's an invasive species, but it's definitely what's clearing up this water. You know, one thing that happens, and I think it happens to every angler, is when they catch fish in a certain place or a certain way, they fall in love with that technique. They basically start fishing memories. And to me, that's the biggest trap you can get yourself in when you're going fishing. You should always fish the conditions. Now, you've got an idea in your mind the way it may be. I came here thinking I'm going to catch them shallow cranking because last year that's what happened. But as soon as I saw those conditions, I was thinking, well, shallow cranking's out because they're not going to bite. I've fished many tournaments in the Ozarks, and I've tried to shallow crank on days like today, and you don't catch anything. I live really close to Lake Travis, clear water, rocky. Hey, when it's like this, you do not catch bass. That's just the way it is. And as soon as I saw that, I knew that, and I started thinking, well, I've got to fish some different baits. I've got to try some different techniques because it's the only way we have a chance.
While Clark starts his afternoon on the water, let's take a look back at his last trip on Lake Belton to see how he kicked off his morning that day.
When we got here 2 years ago, it was one of those cold days. I mean, we had every bit of clothing we could possibly have on. We had heated socks on, we had a heated vest on. Basically just battening down the hatches for a cold weather day. But the one thing that cold, nasty, windy weather does for you is a lot of times it makes those shallow fish bite really well. And so we got out there and we got on a pre-spawn cranking pattern that was really pretty good.
Fish. They're a good one too. Oh my God. What's that? Oh, that gummy came off. That was a good fish right there. I have a feeling it was a smallmouth. I'm cranking a kind of a main lake bank with a wiggle wart. You know, its water temperature is about 52, 53 degrees. Well, that was a good fish right there. Little guy. Now I changed to a suspended shad, which is a little bit like a shad wrap. And that fish, he's not ready to be caught. Caught this fish just cranking the bank. You know, the other bites we had have been on a little bit steeper stuff. The big one was on a little bit shallower stretch, so, you know, it's just kind of all the process of figuring out exactly where they're at. It wasn't very big, but at least it was a bite. To me, it's just kind of all a puzzle. You know, we get here on a lake that I hadn't fished in 10 years, and the only thing we know is the water's cold and the air temperature's cold, and so all we can do is just go fish. And crankbait usually works really good this time of year. Jerkbait, you know, maybe a jig, and that's kind of where we're going to start and see what happens. Better fish.
The Lake Belton puzzle continues when Fishing and Hunting Texas returns. Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Cabela's, it's in your nature. Garmin, the power of simple. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time.
Fish on! Come on, get together.
The Alaskan Series Cooler Packs by Arctic Ice. Specifically designed to keep your food and drinks cold all day long without having to use ice and end up with a soggy lunch. The Alaskan Series by Arctic Ice. Bitterly cold.
After your next successful fishing trip, savor the flavor with a Bradley Smoker. They have a whole list of creative recipes for catch with a wide variety of delicious smoky wood flavors. Find out more about making your meal as memorable as the fishing trip at bradleysmoker.com.
Engineered to excel, the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series are packed with advantages and exclusive features. Coupled with Evinrude E-Tech's power, performance, and 300 hours with no dealer schedule maintenance, the accelerated standards of the Ranger Z series are driven to dominate. From first light to last cast, they're put together to set you apart. Experience more with Evinrude E-Tech.
Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for all the latest fishing information. AmericanaOutdoors.com has a great variety of fishing channels for saltwater and freshwater sportsmen. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com.
Hi, I'm Cabela's Pro Staffer Wade Middleton. Aquatic invasive species are threatening our lakes and rivers. We must act now or the results could be devastating. Visit Cabela's.com to learn more about how you can help stop the spread of aquatic hitchhikers.
Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas with host Clark Wendlandt. Clark is making his way around Lake Belton, a central Texas lake with clear water and a great smallmouth population.
So we get out there today and the first point we pull up on, I can see the bottom in 15 feet and, I guess what I started thinking is I just got to fish the conditions. The last time I was here, we caught them pre-spawn cranking, shallow, throwing a variety of different crankbaits, but anywhere from 5 to say 10 foot of water. Well, that just wasn't gonna work. I mean, or it didn't at least feel like it was when we first got out there. And so, the first point I fish, I fish a crankbait around a little bit, throw a swim bait some, throw a jerk bait some, nothing. I went to the next point, and as I'm kind of drifting over that point, it kind of comes out flat on a little shelf. I see a fish down there. And, it's just plain as day on my Garmin 840 XS, and so I just kind of start backing off and I decided to bring my bait right through where that fish was. I could tell it was a pretty big fish, and I get to that point and boom, I get a bite. This might not even be a bass. I don't know what it is. All I know is it's big. Come on, be a big old smallmouth. I ought to be able to see him here before long. Down that clear water. Golly, that's clear. Oh, that's a nice bass. That fish was so deep. Oh, it's a great largemouth. Look at this dude right here. Oh my gosh. Get in here, look at that. Look how fat he is. What a fish. With those black marks all over him. One thing you just can't be is intimidated by clear water. Clear water can intimidate anybody. I usually like to attack it. There's two ways you can approach it. Look at that fish. You can either fish it fast, fish with the wind, or a day like today, you gotta go deep. That's just the only way you can go. What a fish. The only thing that I really could have done differently, and I was actually about to do it when I caught that 5-pounder, is just run up the lake and see if I can find some dirtier water. And that's what I'll do a lot of times. If I'm in a situation where it's not going very well, it wasn't going bad. We had only been out there about 30 or 45 minutes, but that water is so clear. And you just get psyched out by that clear water. Even somebody like me that's done this for year after year, see that clear water, it's just like, wow, man, I mean, I can see my bait down there in 15 to 18 feet of water, and that's clear. And so, you know, but when I got that bite, it just gave me confidence. All right, these fish are gonna bite in this clear water. I may have to fish deep, I may have to find some wind, but they're gonna bite.
Clark caught his first fish here on a jig, and though he was fishing a similar time of year, the milkier water made fishing way different. Let's take a look back at how he found the fish here on Lake Belton a couple of years ago.
Yeah, little guy, he just hooked funny. On a point, every bite we've had so far in this last little stretch has been on a point.
You know, where we ended up finding those fish was on kind of secondary points of a creek. You know, we started off kind of on the main lake, and you know, it's still winter basically, so I mean, you should catch some on the main lake, but the secondary points in the creek that I started off fishing were just a little bit steeper, and a lot of these banks here are kind of hard to read. You know, some of them are really, really flat, and some of them will look flat but won't be. And so, but the ones that really held the fish were flat. They came out for a long way, and you know, the fish seemed to be in 7, 8 feet of water, which was perfect for that suspended shad. That's just exactly where they were at.
Not very big, but that sun has come out and they are starting to bite. I probably had 5 bites on this point alone. That's it.
More Clearwater fun when Fishing and Hunting Texas returns. Clark has long trusted Ranger boats to get him to and from his spots on the water safely. Let's put your Ranger knowledge to the test. What are the 4 camouflage patterns available on the Ranger Tournament Series and MPV Series aluminum models? For the answer to this and for a Ranger boat that was built to be yours, visit mydreamrig.com.
Call me a fool for searching. Nessie doesn't want to be found. But I've got the new Garmin combo with the clearest scanning sonar images on the water. I can see Nessie's home and all the wee fish in crisp detail. I mean, look at it, look. It's her. You are real. You do exist.
The Alaskan Series Cooler Packs by Arctic Ice. Specifically designed to keep your food and drinks cold all day long without having to use ice and end up with a soggy lunch. The Alaskan Series by Arctic Ice. Bitterly cold.
With a great history in drag racing and now into the marine market, Lucas is proud to offer an ethanol treatment for a wide range of boat motors on the market today. Lucas Safeguard Ethanol Fuel Conditioner with Stabilizers was developed to specifically address issues associated with using ethanol-based fuels. Increase your mileage and performance with Lucas Oil High Performance products. Available at Cabela's.
Hi, I'm Billy Gerke, and whether you're taking your son or daughter on his or her first outdoor adventure or enjoying some time for yourself outdoors, the team at Foreverlast wants you to know we strive to make only the best products, and it is our promise to you to continue to bring new ideas and improve others to keep you at the forefront of your pursuit. Family, friends, and the great outdoors, it's who we are. Foreverlast.
After your next successful fishing trip, savor the flavor with a Bradley Smoker. They have a whole list of creative recipes for catch with a wide variety of delicious smoky wood flavors. Find out more about making your meal as memorable as the fishing trip at bradleysmoker.com.
The Arctic Ice Tundra Series, capable of keeping your food frozen all day long. The Tundra Series is a portable, safe, and reusable alternative ideally suited to replace dry ice. Keep your food as frozen as the Tundra with the Tundra Series from Arctic Ice.
Like what you see on Americana Outdoors? Check out AmericanaOutdoors.com for the latest outdoor news. You can view all of our recent episodes and get all the info about our outdoor expeditions. Check it out at AmericanaOutdoors.com. Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Arctic Ice. Preserve an Arctic refuge in your cooler. AmericanaOutdoors.com, your website for fishing and hunting news. And by Lucas Oil Marine Products, made in America, sold to the world. Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas with Clark Wendlandt. Clark has launched his boat on the clear waters of Lake Belton.
Well, I had great confidence coming here. It's just that when you put the boat in the water and it's dead slick calm and you can see 20 feet down, you know it's going to be tough. That's just the way it is. You get wind, it makes it a totally different fishery. We finally got just a little bit of wind, and so we're going to pull up on a windy bank. It's not a lot of wind, but been wanting to shallow crank some and see what happens. We just had a bite on a crankbait. I'm sitting there thinking, you know, in the Ozarks, I catch them in really, really clear water on a crankbait. A little bit of wind, it obviously helps out. First bite I've had right there, shallow cranking. And I mean, you can see the bottom easily in 20 foot here, so that's a good sign. That was definitely a fish. You know, what wind does is it distorts the sun. It's basically almost the same as cloud cover to a bass fisherman. It means that you can throw moving baits and that they won't be able to see that bait so clearly that they don't want to bite it. When it's totally dead calm and you throw a crankbait in the water, it just looks like a vibrating piece of plastic going through the water. You put some distortion of cloud, and you put some wind, and I mean, all they're seeing is all this flash come off that bait because the water's rippled on top. And so what it does is it distorts the bait and it makes them key in on it. Throwing a crankbait, and I am fishing water that is amazingly clear to get a bite on a crankbait on. This may be a brown one here. Yep, smallmouth, and he's got 2 or 3 with him. Really does, he's got 5 with him, I think. Look at all those big old giant smallmouth. Oh my gosh, how do you get one of those? Get in here, buddy. There was 4 or 5, a lot bigger than him in there. Look how pretty he is. Oh my gosh. That is too awesome. I thought one may have been, I threw my other bait down there because there were so many fish there. That's too cool, man. What an awesome fish. Man, I love brown fish. I've always loved them. That is so much fun right there. That's the second bite I had on that crankbait. I'm just throwing an old wiggle wart. There was literally 5 fish with that one fish right there. We are actually cranking a bay that we cranked when we were here 2 years ago. And the best stretch we fished was that bank right there. We caught probably 5, maybe 6 fish on that stretch right there. And as I'm going through here, and I can see the bottom everywhere in here. All I could see that time where that fish was just a dark spot. And you know, I don't really have any idea if those fish are even gonna be living shallow right now, but those smallmouth right there, they were living shallow.
Clark is fishing near a spot he fished a couple of years ago where a shallow cranking pattern seemed to work. Let's take a look back at how he figured that out.
I'm not 100% sure if they've just started biting or if we've just figured them out. I kind of think it's a little bit of a combination of both.
You know, when I looked at the water this morning, I was thinking to myself, you know, first thought in my mind on a highland lake is jerkbait, late winter, maybe a crankbait, and maybe a jig. And when I got here, the water color was just not that clear. It was just a little bit milky. I just thought, you know, I started off with a jerkbait, but I didn't get any bites. And then we quickly went to a crankbait. And in the first hour, I had about 3 bites on it. One of them was a nice one. I mean, I had him on for just a minute. And it was kind of on a flat point, but for the most part, what we fished early on was kind of a little bit steeper banks. And those other 2 fish that I had on were on those steeper banks, and didn't see any of them, but just felt like they were, I knew they were fish, they were bites, and hoped something pointing us in the right direction. And then we spent the first hour or so and didn't do all that great. You know, I wasn't really thinking it was the weather. I mean, sometimes the sun can actually warm up and they can start biting better, and that may be what happened. But I have a feeling what happened even more is we started really figuring out where the fish were. We got a few bites to key us in on that. It took a couple hours, and you know, when you're finding fish anytime, that's just the way it is. I mean, it's gonna take some time, fine tuning. You know, you're gonna fish some spots that may be the right pattern but just don't have any fish, and so it just takes a little bit of time. Just you got to keep an open mind and keep trying lots of baits to try to figure it out. Oh, all right. Man, that dude ate that plug. Absolutely ate it.
Bubba Blade, Bubba Blade.
The Bubba Blade is the ultimate sportsman's knife. For fishing,
One cut and you're through, guys, kind of like butter. Just like butter.
hunting,
You can see it just took that right off.
camping, or just carving up meat at the barbecue. If you've got a sportsman in the family, they're going to want to have a Bubba Blade knife. The super sharp edge and the large patented handle that gets sticky when wet makes the Bubba Blade a perfect sportsman's knife. The handle protects your hands from the blade, and the trigger grip and thumb pads let you have total control of the knife. The Bubba Blade comes in different styles and sizes to fit the need of every sportsman. So whether it's for the boat, hunting, camping, or just for slicing meat at a barbecue, the Bubba Blade is the ultimate knife for the sportsman. Go online at BubbaBlade.com to order your Bubba Blade today.
It's up to us, anglers, boaters, and other outdoor enthusiasts to take necessary steps to protect our lakes and rivers from non-native, harmful aquatic plants and animals. Visit Cabela's.com and learn more about the steps that you can take to help stop aquatic hitchhikers.
From bass and walleye to crappie in the great outdoors, you deserve more than old school aluminum. Experience the quality, performance, and fishability of a Ranger aluminum design. Coupled with Evinrude E-Tech's power, performance, and 300 hours with no dealer scheduled maintenance, these advanced designs from Ranger are engineered to excel and priced to be yours. Experience more with Evinrude E-Tech.
When you pack your cooler for a barbecue or even a tailgate party, be sure to pack it with Chillin' Brew, powered by Arctic Ice. Chillin' Brew in a cooler can keep beer at the perfect drinking temperature longer than ice. Grab some brews and Chillin' Brew today.
Call me a fool for searching. Nessie doesn't want to be found. But I've got the new Garmin combo with the clearest scanning sonar images on the water. I can see Nessie's home and all the wee fish in crisp detail. I mean, look at it, look. It's her. You are real. You do exist.
Welcome back to Fishing and Hunting Texas with Clark Wendlandt. Clark fished Lake Belton in central Texas a couple of years ago and is fishing there again today. The conditions were similar, but the patterns were not. Let's take a closer look at what baits worked a couple of years ago in this tackle breakdown.
You know, I caught all my fish today on a crankbait and ended up throwing 3 different ones. I caught some on a wiggle wart, I caught some on a Yozuri suspended shad, and I caught some on a speed trap. And it just kind of depended on the bank and how quick it sloped off as to what I threw. Yozuri suspended shad ended up being the best bait. It's a shad rep kind of bait with a tight wobble, works really, really good in cold water, and it casts really well. And so, that ended up being my bait of choice. I feel like, if I came fishing here tomorrow, I could catch a bunch of fish on it.
Although the conditions were slightly different from year to year, one thing that really got Clark's attention was the large smallmouth population in Lake Belton.
Smallmouth.
Big one too. I think it's a smallmouth just because how fast it took off. Yep. Oh, that's cool. We pulled over on this point and I've already had 2 bites on the point, but that's just too much fun up there. Get up here, dude. Oh, that's a nice one. Look at that. That fish was pretty shallow. I mean, 3 or 4 foot of water. That's over 3, easy. 3.5 probably. Got those real pretty black specks on the bottom of it. That's too much fun. That was about the 5th or 6th cast, but I had 2 bites before this one. Get another one.
Big smallmouth have always been just something that I love. And I've been up to the Great Lakes many, many times. In Texas, you don't see them that often. They're in Texoma, they're in Lake Whitney, and there's a few other lakes they're good smallmouth in, but Belton has got some great smallmouth fishing. And I love catching those big bronze bass.
This is my next cast. I just let that one go. Picked it right back up. You see that algae on him right there is where he got hung up in that tree. They have just started biting now. I mean, we've been fishing out here for 2 or 3 hours this morning, 2 or 3 bites, and all of a sudden in the last hour, hour and a half, we have caught a bunch. You know, I knew this place was famous for smallmouth, and I just love catching them. I mean, those brown fish are just, it's just something that's not normal for me. And I usually catch them when I go up north, but around in Texas, you just don't catch them that often. When you can catch 3.5 pound smallmouth in Texas, you're on a place that's got some good ones in it. That fish hit at the boat. Now switch crankbaits to catch that one. Nice one too. He never did jump, but that fish hit it with like, I got right to the boat, about 2 foot of line out. Oh, that's a beautiful fish.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed seeing the contrast between a year ago and now. Same time of year, water temperature really, really similar, but today's fishing was a lot tougher. You know, the water's gotten a lot clearer here. Obviously, the fishery's still really healthy. What I really like to see is big largemouth and big smallmouth. It's a super place to fish. Lake Belton, try it out. Don't be scared of that clear water. And if you'd like to visit us on our Facebook page, hey, give us your ideas. Tell us what you'd like to see on Fishing and Hunting Texas. We'd love to hear from you.
Remember to find us online at fishandhuntingtexas.com, where you can watch full episodes of our shows and find out Clark's tips and thoughts on today's show by reading his blog. There's also a link to our Facebook page, where you'll be up to date on where Clark is and what he's up to out in the Texas outdoors. See you next week.